Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. I'm your host, my name is Karolina, and I'm the Power Couple Therapist. Today on the show, we have Natalie Kehren, the holistic life coach and spiritual energy specialist. Welcome to the show, Natalie. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited to be here. It took us a while to meet and connect with our timelines, but I'm really thrilled. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for agreeing to share your wisdom with us. And I'm
Mhm.
really, really excited that we finally got to do it. And I know that it's divinely guided that we do it right now, because maybe now is the time that we need to share our knowledge and wisdom, especially that I have a question to you about the last few days, because it's been quite intense for me personally
Mhm.
to be in this
Mhm.
last full moon of the year energy. And I'm curious to know whether you've experienced any kind of healing in the last few days or any kind of intensified energy when it comes to full moon, but also to the new moon. Like, how do you feel that the new moon and full moon affect our healing and our trauma healing, especially because to me it feels like everything that I was just hiding in my subconscious mind suddenly came up in the last 3 days, so I'm curious about your perspective on it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm not an astrologer. I just want to say that before I begin, but I can tell you on personal experience and what this time of year in particular is all about, um, and what it may have brought up for all of us. Yes, subconscious, everything that has been hiding, even in things I didn't even know existed and happened to me when I was much younger, started to come out. So I've been in a very deep healing space. And this time of year, like the winter solstice, is all about reaching the darkest parts of ourselves. That's because the days are the darkest, the sun is the furthest away. So when the sun isn't here, I want you to think of that as like your own inner light. So the sun, it has been moving further and further away. And on December 21st, it was the furthest. So that means that we're in like the creepiest of crawliest parts, dimensions of ourselves that there's no sort of connection to, or not that there's no connection to, but they're less accessible throughout the summer years when the sun is so close. So this time was really about bringing that all up. Now, the new moon and full moon cycle, the last two were really, really intense because to me, you had this ending energy that was around for a new beginning to come. So, and the full moon in Cancer, I mean, I was supremely affected because that's my birth moon. So one thing you're going to want to look up is what is your natal moon? And how big is it? What sign is it in? Because I mean, I know in astrology that's really big. So this time was, yeah, really highlighting darker parts. And it's really an opportunity to release them, bring them to light so that you're not carrying them into the next version of you, the next cycle. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the collective humanity because what's going on with us energetically, and this is really where I can speak from based on what I do and what I specialize in. We are purging so heavily. And the 2023, and I know when I say this, you're going to be like, yes, was all about purging. It was really at the core of it. We had a beautiful sort of like elevated energy the first 3 to 6 months at the beginning of the year. But at the last 6 months, it was really pushing us through this birth canal that was just removing all the parts of ourselves that are no longer needed in this new reality that's coming starting in 2024 and beyond. So this last new moon was really the tail end of that. So it was going to reach, this is an analogy used a lot in holistic healing, is that you're like an onion and you have to do layer by layer by layer by layer. But sort of like the deeper you go into your core self is where some of the most profound, deepest wounds are. So we were right there the last couple moons, and the moons were beautifully supported to just help us move through that.
Oh yeah, I felt it so strongly. Literally, when I got triggered like 2 days ago, I only got out of it like today. And it doesn't have to be anything major that it seems on the outside, but in the inside, we can be so stirred up. And I would actually love to share what triggered me, because I feel like people have sometimes a different idea of what trauma can be, but trauma can be
Yes.
so subtle that we might not even realize that this was traumatic for us. So for me, it happened that my friends wanted to play FIFA, on PlayStation. And my trauma is that when I was hanging out with my dad when I was little, he was constantly watching football. And I felt like my needs and desires are less important than his football, right? So I wanted his attention. I wanted him to spend time with me, but he was watching football. And then I got, triggered, and I got sad that he doesn't care about me and doesn't care about my needs. And literally, like, we were just hanging out as a Christmas time, second day of Christmas, and we just all with friends and kind of like soul family. And the guys just really wanted to play FIFA. And I was like, please guys, like, it's gonna probably trigger the shit out of me. Like, please do not play. And they didn't really take it seriously because they didn't have any awareness of how it might trigger me, right? So the very, very fact that they didn't know how it triggers me and they still wanted to play it, although I said that, I'm going to be triggered me so much into the wound that, oh my God, like this person or these people, because there were four men, like closest men to my heart ever, because they were all my besties and my brother, and they all kind of didn't care about me not wanting it, and they just wanted to play it. That brought me straight back to when I was a few years old, and my dad, in my view, didn't care about my needs. And I got so triggered that for the next 2 hours, I was just like crying. I had all this pain in my heart, in my solar plexus, and I had to just let it all out and go to a different room. And everyone was like having a Christmas party, and I was just like crying there, which I was happy about, because I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm purging even deeper layer, as you said, right, of the onion. So it's seemingly not big traumatic event as people would perceive as trauma, but trauma doesn't have to be something super major. And that brings me to the question to you, like, how do you define trauma?
Oh my gosh. So trauma is anything that has an emotional imprint, an energetic imprint on your psyche, your well-being, your energy body, your auric field, anything. And that doesn't have to necessarily be bad. It can be great too. There's really beautiful trauma. So things that are happen to us that are so amazing, like let's say you won the lottery one day, that's trauma. That is something that's life-changing forever. So that's how I define trauma. Anything that has an energetic imprint on you and is lasting.
That's a beautiful definition, because it's kind of like more taking the word trauma as both positive and negative, because I feel like often trauma is associated with like a distress that wasn't resolved, but it actually can be also something else, like a different part of us that is just suppressed and imprinted in our energy body. So I love that definition. But yeah, it's so interesting how sometimes our body can react, although in my mind, like, I knew in this specific example, like, hey, these guys love you and care about you and they don't want anything against you. But in my subconscious mind, my inner child was like, no, they don't care, and I'm so sad and I'm so unimportant. And it's funny to see both of these parts, the emotional one and the logical one, where logically it wasn't really even a thing, and emotionally I just needed to purge so much, and that took me like 2 days to actually ground myself to normal. And then I came home, and then my mom triggered me, but that's another story. She's just like so crazy, and I'm just like trigger after trigger after trigger. But it's, yeah, that's funny. So I'm curious to know your background. How did you become the holistic life coach? What has inspired you to be on the healing journey yourself and to help others to do the same?
Oh my goodness. I think that's a whole other podcast, but I'm gonna try to pack it into like as one paragraph for everybody. I kind of always like to start with the fact that I've been in therapy since I was 14. I've had uh and there's a happy ending to all of this. So as I share, I don't want anyone to feel it might actually be triggering some other viewers and listeners. So I've had a fair share of a variety of trauma in my life, sexual abuse as a child, all the way through my teens, really emotionally abusive relationships. I was raised in a family that had alcoholism in it, so a lot of dysfunction there, and um, yeah, a lot of growth, a lot of healing, and I've had physical abuse as well. So there's been quite um, an array of things that have brought me to this space. Found myself also addicted to stuff to try to numb myself in my teenage years, when you go out there and rebel and try to find yourself. And really at the end of it, what was happening was that I was very much, and a lot of people are like this, especially in this millennial age, we came in with a lot of profound gifts, a lot of openness energetically. And so we were growing up in a society that didn't really hold space for any of that at all. So a lot of us felt lost or confused, or were told to stuff it down or numb it or whatever. So I picked up on a lot of things and I saw a lot of stuff. And I found out in my 20s that I'm actually a medium and a channeler and had psychic gifts and so many other things. And I'm now doing, specialization in energy because I went to school for all of this, but also because that is one of my gifts that I later discovered. So through all of that, when I was put in situations that were harmful and unsafe and traumatic, it had this profound effect on me. And I numbed myself. And then I later had to crawl myself out of my own darkness. And in schooling and all the holistic approaches that I did, I took everything. I mean, I tried everything. I read so much. I needed to reach the other side. And I don't know what was driving me, but it was just an endless journey for myself. But it felt like it was supposed to have a bigger impact. And um, then I wanted to start my own business and I wanted to help people, and it all sort of to pay it forward. So, because I know that if I can do it, anybody can. So that's what inspired me. I know that there's so many other people that have experienced such traumatic and horrible things, and that this world and this planet and this time right now that we're in, we need immense amount of support in this. We need the children that are growing up to have supportive spaces of their spirituality and their psychic gifts, and learning in a whole new way other than what's currently presented to us. So um yeah, and helping people now, millennials and people with gifts and intuition that have had to block them all away and shove them all down to try and be someone that they're not. So I just help people uncover all of that through very, very specific steps and energetic healing and spiritual healing, and so that they can get to their authentic self, and they can start living the life that they really want to live, and their dreams that they see. It's all just kind of covered under this rubble of trauma. So I just take that all out and I let them be who they are.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that
No.
brings me to another question, because you said that you've read so much and you've tried so much, and you probably have done a lot of different healing techniques on yourself while you were
Mhm.
discovering, how to heal yourself from all these traumatic events, right? So that's a very curious question for me, because I've done the Reiki training and I've done the trauma healing training and I've done parts work and NLP and different modalities. And so I'm curious to know on your journey, but also how you see it playing out with your clients. Like, can
Mhm.
all things be healed with specific modalities? For example, can Reiki be really someone's number one modality that they can heal anything with? Or do you feel like the trauma healing specifically is necessary for someone to heal fully to the deepest layer and necessary for lasting change? Or it varies for everyone, and for some people it's going to be Reiki, for some people it's going to be trauma healing, for some people it's going to be a variety, or maybe, as I've encountered it for myself and other people, that sometimes the modality that is serving at the moment is not serving later as much, and then you find something else and then this is working for you. So how do you see it when it comes to healing? Like, are there modalities that are, in your view, more effective in healing what you've discovered with yourself and your clients, rather than others? Or do you feel that the combination is the most perfect solution for everyone, or everyone is so different that it's even hard to say it like that? What have you discovered?
Oh my gosh. Um, I had the first thing before, there's a lot I want to share. The first thing I want to say is that um, energy is the root cause of everything. You have to go there eventually as a modality. So, um, because within our energy fields, which are huge and infinite and span across parallel lives. So parallel, when I say that, it's not past, it's not future, it's parallel. They're all, because they're all still happening. And there's some parallel lives that are still very much connected into this current lifetime. And you can pull all of that into this one. So that's one sort of more quantum approach. But you do really have to, at the end of the day, go to the source, the root, which is the energy. And it can be as far back as the beginning of your soul, you know, this journey, which could be a millennial years ago. So that's how far back it can really go. So that's why I say working in the energetic space, because it's quantum and it's something that scientists are only just beginning to discover its potential, and all the information that's housed there that's really where it's all accessible, changeable. And when I say manipulate, I don't mean in the negative way. Manipulate means where you can manipulate the energy to heal, or I can just use the word healing the energy, but the source of it. So you would need to seek a modality, a professional that can go to that depth, find it, pull it forward, and be like, here's what's been the cause. And then and how it's interwoven into all the parts of yourself that are in this lifetime, because everything is connected. So that's the work that I do. And so that's where I would say I've seen, I mean, the most amazing things happen with my clients, but it's energy is the root cause. Your spirit is the root cause. I also can say though that the holistic approach is really important, because when we work on energy, you also have a physical body. So when we're releasing something that's really important for you to release, that's in your subconscious, the muscles hold so much tension and that memory still in your body. So when I give, my clients practices or specific things, let's say to like stretch out your hips specifically because they have this type of trauma stored in this area of their body, I'm going to give you exercises to stretch that out as we work on the energetic root cause, so that it's this working combo. And then there's the nutritional aspect, where I recommend some basic supportive nutritional things that can help them support their physical bodies to release further. And then I work in other modalities as well. So it's a combination. It's like, I want you to see your healing journey as two major factors. I'm going to give you a sort of visual to go on. And then before I do that, I want to give you a more theoretical approach, which is the spiritual practice. Your healing journey is deeply rooted in a spiritual practice and surrendering to something greater than yourself. So if you don't believe in something greater than you and this experience, then that's where I suggest that you begin, because to reach the depths of your part of yourself that you need to go, so that you don't have to deal with any sort of trauma, and you can sort of wipe clean and elevate and evolve to all the most highest potentials of yourself in your timelines. It's so important that you have a deep surrendering and trust in something greater, so that when that modality, let's say you're driving in your car and you see a sign on the side of the road, when that modality is trying to present itself to you in your life, in your human experience, that you notice it. But that comes with surrendering and trust. Does that make sense? And when we try to like control our journey so much by, I need this modality and I need that, and I think I need to try that, and blah, 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 we can really sort of that's rooted in fear. So we can really block the whole experience a lot, because we're so fearful, like, are we going to heal, and am I going to make it, and I got to get it done now, or else I'm not going to be able to do all of these limiting human thoughts that we have, as opposed to surrendering to the journey and allowing yourself to unfold the way your quantum self to unfold the way that it's so naturally designed to. This is part of your DNA coding, your blueprint. Your body knows what to do. You have to just give it the space, the openness to receive what's coming in, and surrendering and trusting. That's the theoretical part. Now here's the visualization. I want you to see it like you have a map in front of you, and there's it's your energetic field, and it's connected to all the parallel lives and all the quantumness of you and everything that makes up you. So you have a map, and there's like different stopping points all over the map, and you're in your car and you have to make it to all those stopping points. But I don't want that to overwhelm anybody. I want you to understand that your car is being driven by I can use the word God, source, universe, angels. You input the word there that feels the best for you, but that's who's driving your car. You just have to be open and listen. And you'll get there. I promise you. Um, that's what I've done. That's a lot of my own personal journey and what I've seen with my clients. And I promise you, you'll get there.
Mm, that's beautiful because that's that detachment from how specifically we need to do things in order to get to the specific result, right? We can kind of like envision the result and know where we're going, intend for something, and kind of like with our masculine focus and direction, direct our energy into that. But then with our feminine surrender, we can just like let ourselves float to enjoy the journey of getting there rather than focusing on like, oh, when is it going to happen and controlling the outcome. So that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so what was the, for you specifically, can you pinpoint anything that was the biggest breakthrough, caused the biggest breakthrough for you when it comes to the healing modality that you've tried, or was it quite similar with most of them?
I found for me personally, so it's going to be unique and different for each person because they come in with their own, makeup. But for me personally, I found Reiki to be profoundly breaking through. For me, it was like a step up. Like it was like really cleared a lot of stuff out and really opened me up really beautifully. So I got certified and that was amazing. That was a big breakthrough. Um, a lot of energy work helped a lot. And talk therapy. I like talking. I talk therapy is just going to see a therapist or talking to somebody or whatever it is. That's one modality. Meditation, there's many forms of meditation, but even working out, yoga practices and meditation, walking is a meditation, gardening, cooking, dancing, coloring. These are all forms of meditation. So a meditative practice in your life is a great way to help you process and uncover and release and let go. So that was another massive one. And moving my body, I found to be profoundly helpful at one, specifically all the time. It's still immersed in my life. But at one point in my life when I had a lot of fear, a lot of anger, just so much residual stuff that I couldn't break through, turning to working out was really, really helpful for me. And energy work, like working with someone like me was profound. And I'm not just saying that because I'm interested in getting people to sign on with me. I'm going to be totally transparent with you. Um, I'm saying that because it's so much of what I believe in and what has worked for me is working with somebody who can help you reach those energetic parts of yourself and see that for you clearly and be that bridging point between the two until you're able to see it for yourself because we all have these gifts to be able to do that. So those have been my main ones that I have found have been really, really beautiful and supportive.
Mm. That's amazing. And so that also actually brings me to another question because I have my own perspective on it. But do you feel like you could have gone so far, learning these modalities for yourself and just practicing on yourself? Would you be able to go that far in your healing journey if it wasn't for other people, let's say external support that you got? Because, like, to me, it feels like when you go to someone, to a coach, therapist, healer, psychic reader, whoever, they can just provide you with a, let's say, more objective perspective of what's going on and bring out some pieces, bits and pieces, so that you understand the whole picture. Or sometimes even you don't realize your subconscious patterns that are playing out, but when you go to someone else, they can kind of see it very clearly. And in the same way that sometimes you can see that your partner or your family member or whoever
Yeah.
has some kind of thing that they are struggling with and they are just in the loop, but you can see it clearly because your perspective is zoomed out of their internal state. So you can tell them, hey, do you see that you're repeating this, or do you see that you constantly have this pattern? So do you feel like you could go in your healing journey, just learn all the modalities, work with trauma by yourself, with Reiki by yourself, and everything by yourself, and you would be in this exact same space that you are? Or do you feel like the support of others was actually crucial in your breakthroughs?
It was crucial for me. I really do believe that. And we as human beings, and this is just an energetic, like sort of knowingness, a spiritual law, we human beings are meant to help each other heal and evolve. It's part of us. We're coded that way. So leaning on support practitioners is so crucial to help you just lift you up, boost energy. We are always in a energetic exchange with people. So if you have a beautiful energetic exchange with a energy practitioner or a Reiki person or your talk therapist, or even just like your personal trainer who's just helping you see things more clearly, boost your energy, and just help you heal. We help each other heal. You don't need to be Reiki certified to put your hands on somebody with beautiful healing intention and help them heal. Anybody can do that because we're meant to do that. That's already within each of us. So if you lean on others even more with even more intention and saying like, okay, with this practitioner, I'm intending to reveal, heal, and release these things. And you have that energetic exchange, energy follows intention. So it's just going to happen. Um, and yeah, it's crucial. I totally agree.
Mm, beautiful.
Mhm.
And so I know that you're a mom as well. And I feel
Mhm.
like sometimes in relationships, our trauma and our patterns can really affect how it plays out. And especially like with our family, like our parents or our kids. And I feel like sometimes even like I feel like I have this sense that I chose to have a specific personality to sometimes trigger the shit out of my mom so that she realizes some stuff about herself, and then I can see also stuff about myself that I suppress within me, and it's kind of like a healing for both of us. And of course sometimes it's difficult because we just, yeah, it's just like crazy, but it's still very much serving us. So I'm curious, how do you see that in your life, and also in other people's lives? How does trauma affect our relationships? Especially I'm curious about your relationships with your children, or maybe with your parents as well, like family members who are the easiest to trigger us, right? Because we have the most closeness with them. And so I feel like the more close you are with someone, the easier for them is to just push your buttons so that you just then burst in emotion. So I'm curious to know how it plays out for you as a mom, also with the awareness that you have, and if someone doesn't really know how to work with themselves, like how to deal with it when this happens.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll start there because that's the easiest sort of straightforward place to start is that when it happens, you need to remove yourself. You need space. You just need space because staying in the conversation, if you're already triggered, and this all loops back into how I am as a mother, how I show up as a mother, um, you need space because your brain shuts down. Your rational brain, your reasoning brain, your logical brain, it just shuts down when it's triggered. So you can't even, having a conversation no longer works because it's too heightened. So it's just, it goes into defensive mode. Your brain literally responds this way, especially if there's a lot of trauma there. So take space, breathe. Space can sometimes look like a month. Just take space. You can tell the person. It doesn't have to be like, it is by no means, when I say that, emotional abuse where you're giving the silent treatment or, locking yourself or running away. It's a adult decision to say, hi, I in myself right now feel very emotionally charged and I need to take space so I can reapproach this with you in a really healthy way. But right now I'm not in a healthy space within myself. So until I get there, I'm going to be taking space. It doesn't mean that I don't care. I love you deeply. I'm doing it because I love you deeply. So then you go and do the things that calm you back down. However long it takes, it's as long as it takes. Then reapproach the conversation. How I show up with my mother, and that is by no means what my childhood looked like. This is only in my adult years that I have been able to do this. And there's still moments where I am finding myself hard to pull myself away because of my own personal trauma. So with my children, and I'm saying that because children, from when they're having temper tantrums, they actually have the same response. So their brain shut down and they don't have impulse control and they can't control their tantrum. And let's say your child gets into like a hitting fit. They hit you once and then they're upset that they hit you, but they don't know how to process that. So they keep, and you say, please don't hit me. That's not safe. That triggers them even more. So they'll just keep hitting you because they don't know how to process the fact that they're mad that their milk spilt or that their friend, hurt them at school, whatever. They can't process that. So they're taking it out in another way. Um, so my job as a mother is to hold space for that. It's not about me. It's not that they don't like me. It's not that they're disrespecting me. It's that they're going through something and I'm more curious about what are they going through and what happened and how can I help them process. So I'm trying to stay in the space always of gifting my child with processing their emotions. Now, I have children that are deeply sensitive and have very big emotions. They feel things so much. And that I know that because that was me. And now I work with so many older women who were like that as a child and are recovering from that and still processing things that happened. So now with my children, it's when it's a big emotion, it's not getting mad, it's not punishing them. It's just, here's how to process. And that's it. And if I'm too triggered, because yes, relationships are mirrors. If you don't like what you see in a relationship, it's because there's something inside of yourself that is being reflected back to you. And sometimes it's not always in the most direct way that it comes across. It's sometimes in this really subconscious, a little twist and turn, and then it reveals itself in an alternate way to you. But it's always a mirror, and it's your job to take a step back, be objective, and say, take that relationship as a learning opportunity and say, okay, what's going on with me? Where is this coming from that I'm so emotionally charged and impacted? And then giving that part of yourself, which would be more like inner child work or that version of yourself that is really wounded, and give them what they need to heal. And then step back into the conversation or the situation or the relationship, or if the relationship is just simply unhealthy, to walk away from it entirely altogether if it's just not serving you. But sometimes my toddler is reflecting stuff back in me that when I was a child and how my mother parented me. And it's really difficult for me to not like check out sometimes and just like numb myself. And that's not with substances. It just means like numbing myself, or I disconnect myself from my emotional heart center, just so I don't have to deal with how much that is triggering me and altering something inside me or overstimulating me. So that's my big battle right now, personally, is just staying in a heart-centered space and holding space for them as much as I can.
And I can relate to that, because sometimes like you don't want to burst into emotions when you're around someone that you know that it's not the healthiest thing to do, to just like, burst. I just had a client before this podcast, and he's like, I'm triggered by my family, but of course I cannot just tell them how angry I am. I need to suppress it all, but then I feel it in my throat and I cannot process it in that moment, right? But then I feel like we need the ability to suppress temporarily, so that we don't kind of make it in an abusive way where we project something onto someone, or especially not on our kids, right? Or people that we love. Like, we don't want to project our stuff onto them and our triggers onto them. But also it's so hard to then not numb it if you know that you want to hold it but then process it later on. So it might be challenging to not to numb it completely, but to actually give space to it when it's necessary to heal. And it might look like you suppress it for 5 minutes and you ask someone to take care of your kid, or maybe ask someone that you need to take space and you just go and scream into the pillow in the other room or whatever, or go for a walk and like scream at the trees or whatever you need to do, or like cry it out, and then you come back and you're at peace. But sometimes you don't have, I guess, as a mother, I'm not a mother yet, but I intend to be in the future, but I'm guessing, looking at my friends and family members, that as a mother you might not have space for another like 10 hours or maybe 24 hours to process it. So what do you do then? Like, how do you navigate that?
Oh my gosh. You're getting to the core of what most mothers move through, and parents too, like even father figures or two mothers or two, however it looks to you, like it's your caregivers are your parents. Yeah, that is really difficult. And sometimes you'll find a lot of memes about parents locking themselves in the bathroom just to get that moment for themselves, because that is just what you need to do. My whole approach is a preventative approach, which is preventing all of that from happening, meaning that my child doesn't get overstimulated. And then if my child's overstimulated, they're going to start overstimulating me. And then that's where I know that I need a breathing point or a breaking point. And it doesn't mean that the journey is going to be perfect, but it does mean that you have the awareness and you're in tune with your children to understand that, oh, this overstimulates them or that overstimulates them. For example, smallest little thing, and it's not that it was at all a major thing, but last night in bed with my 14-month-old, putting him to sleep, normally he has his bath, gets into bed, I change him, and he falls asleep breastfeeding, and I don't have to rock him, he just goes to sleep. But last night he was struggling, and the reason was because of a tiny little change, which was I had a little candle lit. That was it. And it was giving off a little bit of light, and he couldn't sleep. And so he was squirreling around, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't get mad. I go like, can it actually be the candle? So I blew the candle out. He passed out. So it's
Wow.
like, that's what I mean by the awareness. The awareness is being in tune with each of your children, seeing that their needs are different, emotionally regulating yourself. And that suppression you were talking about is like, how do I regulate myself in this moment? Sometimes it's just like drinking water, taking a breath, lighting a candle. Sometimes I put my speaker on and I put like on Spotify, they have like forest healing sounds, and it's just like sounds of nature. Because we're trapped inside right now. It's, mucky out. It's Canada. It's cold. No one wants to go outside. So I just like put that on for my sanity and their sanity so that it's, I'm preventing everyone from getting too heated or too, dysregulated. So yeah, it's awareness, it's tuning in, it's being present. It's a really hard job because it's like a massive meditation for like 12 hours. That's why parents are like, zonked by the end of the day. They don't even know that they're in this massive meditation of holding space and being present with your children. Yeah.
That's beautifully said. I love that. Thank you so much
Mhm.
for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. And I have one last little question to you before we wrap it
Yeah.
up. Where could people find your offerings, your programs, and the healing sessions that you offer and your content? Because if someone would like to go deeper, they love your
Yeah.
energy, I would love them to know where to find you.
Yeah, if you feel open and somewhat connected to me, have a calling, then head to my Instagram page. That's just Natalie.Kehren. That's where my main hub is right now. I'm actually creating a whole online community for your one-stop shop for anything spiritual, awakening journey, all of these holistic tips and tricks, suggestions on motherhood and parenting and releasing and moon and rituals and all the things that I offer, and just energetic updates and all the things. So that's going to be launching on my birthday on January 11th, which is just 2 weeks from now. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, definitely start on my Instagram page and you can find me from there, or nataliekaren.com if you don't have social media.
Amazing. Oh, it's your birthday soon. That's amazing. On the 11th of
Yeah.
January. That's exciting. New year
Yeah.
and then birthday. Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Happy
Thank you.
birthday in advance if I don't speak
Thank
to you until
you.
then. And yeah, thank you so much for this conversation. I really knew that it's meant to happen because we tried to set it up a few times. It didn't work, but now I feel like it was perfect timing of this year to connect. And thank you so much for everything that you shared because it was super valuable. So I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you. I'm so grateful too, and grateful to all the listeners and viewers. So thank you for holding space. It was beautiful.
Thank you so much, my soul family, for being with us, watching us. It's been such a wonderful conversation with Natalie. And this is going to be almost the last podcast. This one is number 199. I'm going to do 200 and then I'm going to take a break from recording the podcast. So please feel free to explore all the other recorded already episodes that we have on YouTube, Spotify, and all other podcast platforms. And if you'd like to follow our SoulFam podcast on Instagram, it's at We Are SoulFam. If you'd like to follow me, I'm Karolina Kuraj, KAROLINA.KURAJ. My email is karolina.kuraj@gmail.com. If you have any questions or if you feel like you would like to take your romantic relationship to the next level, contact me and I can guide you from there. Thank you so much again for being with us and have a wonderful rest of your day.